I started watching the Warriors consistently since about 2010 in the middle of Steph Curry's rookie year when he started to really take off under Don Nelson. And I basically haven't looked back since. And believe it or not, once upon a time, I did not tune in to watch Warriors games to be pissed off. I tuned into Warriors games to watch the magic of Steph Curry because there was something completely and utterly special about him. From the jump, there was no question in my mind. By the time his rookie season ended, I was fully convinced that he was the future of the Warriors. They needed to trade Monte Ellis, get the ball away from him so that the ball can stay in Steph Curry's hands. And I had no idea to what extent he could take over, but I had complete trust and belief that he would take over the NBA once given the proper reins. And if you know Warriors history, you know that it took about 4 years for that to happen. And I literally have not looked back since. Now, why am I walking down memory lane? Well, this season, I've been more frustrated with Steph Curry than I ever have been with him. Even in the 21-22 season, I knew that it wasn't his fault that he was struggling for nearly 3 months. I knew that his rhythm was stripped from him, and I knew that the true Curry was lying dormant in there somewhere. And I know that that's very true this season as well. The difference is that the Warriors have been toiling for the last 3 seasons, and they've been doing the same things over and over and over again, and Steph Curry simply has not voiced his opinion on the need for complete and utter change. And for him to act like just another soldier and just taking it without voicing it louder as the franchise player, as the leader of this team, is beyond frustrating. I'm sure it won't be long before we get back to the nitty-gritty of this season and the Warriors getting back on a losing streak and all that stuff. But let's face it, the reason and the only reason the Golden State Warriors matter as much as they do, even to this day, even after winning only 4 games in the month of December, they matter because of Steph Curry. He gave this franchise everything. He gave this fan base everything that they could have hoped for and more. Now, as you all may know, this season the All-Star Game is happening at Chase Center in San Francisco. And the first voting results have come in for the All-Star Game. And Steph Curry is sitting 3rd behind SGA and Luka. And I understand this season has been beyond frustrating. A lot of fans are starting to tune out of what's going on with the Warriors because it's hard to tune into it. The Warriors have literally been one of the worst teams in the league, and it's hard to keep the attention of a lot of people if you're playing that badly. Having said that, given all that I just said about Steph Curry, this is a hometown All-Star game. Just for legacy purposes alone, Steph Curry should be starting in that All-Star game. And we as diehard Warriors fans have to make sure that he's there. When Michael Jordan came back as a Washington Wizard, he actually did not get in as a starter for the All-Star game. And you know what happened? Vince Carter, who was voted in as the All-Star starter, actually relinquished his spot to ensure that the greatest legend of all time got to be in the starting lineup where he belonged, even if he was no longer at that caliber. And we're talking about 40-year-old Michael Jordan here. Steph Curry is still only just 36 years old. And while this season feels hopeless, it's not over yet. And tonight was a great indicator of what Steph Curry still has in the tank. And we'll get to that soon. But I'm going to make this easy for you. I'm going to leave a link down below. Click it, vote for Steph Curry to be in the All-Star game. If we can't even do that, what kind of fans are we, truly? Let's get that done, guys. Having said that, I'm glad I could be positive for once. Tonight was just a wire-to-wire victory. Once again, the starters set a tone from a defensive standpoint, allowed nothing easy against the 76ers, who were shorthanded. They didn't have Kelly Oubre, who is their primary POA, and having him in there obviously changes the complexion of everything that they do. 6'8", 7'3" wingspan. The guy makes a huge difference. He's been replaced by Kyle Lowry, 6-foot ancient Kyle Lowry. And they were coming off a back-to-back, so the Warriors absolutely had to make sure that this is not a team that they end up losing a game to. Ultimately, the Warriors held the Sixers to 19 points in the first quarter. That is incredible. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the Warriors have been winning just about every single first quarter since they put Trace back into the starting lineup. I'm telling you, Andrew Wiggins at POA, Draymond at power forward, and Trace at center is a super viable defensive unit. And whether it was the Suns, the Lakers, Cavs, or tonight the 76ers, they have gotten off to some really good starts. That's really important for the Warriors because, well, that's actually one of the key issues that the team has had all season long. It's ultimately a product of going bigger, putting guys in their natural positions where they belong. Andrew Wiggins should always be at POA. Draymond should almost always be at power forward. And that's what the presence of Trace allows for this team. Trace has been incredible over the last 5 games. His averages over that time span is something along the lines of 14 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, a steal, amazing splits. I mean, that's a $15 to $20 million player production right there, and the guy is getting paid just a tad under $2 million this season. That is just unbelievable value. But he still has some nights where he's struggling from the offensive end of the floor. Once again tonight, he only managed to shoot 1 of 5 from the field, but it's only 5 shots at the end of the day. And the bigger thing is that he's keeping their defense connected and powerful. He did a really great job on Joel Embiid from an overall standpoint. And that's the kind of thing that helps you win games. And you know, the Warriors ultimately went back to the same old stuff over and over and over again. As you know, small lineups, 3 shooting guards coming off their bench, Jonathan Kuminga small forward, 4 guys coming off their bench that are all completely playing out of position. But maybe 1 out of 7 games, 1 out of 8 games, something like that. Everything just works out great. And it really helped that Dennis Schroeder finally got going. He was 5 of 9 from the field, 14 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals. Check that, 15 points, plus 17 in just 25 minutes of play. And well, if he's aggressive, if he's shooting with certainty, 3 of 4 from the 3-point line, well, that's obviously a game changer. Hopefully this is the start of a nice run for him because he has just been so atrocious in his first 7 games with the Warriors. He is under 30% from the field in those games, and he's under 21% from the 3-point line. And that just has to even out at some point. He shot 45% from the field with the Nets and 39% from the 3-point line. So the law of averages would suggest, even under Steve Kerr, that he would start playing better somewhere along the way. And needless to say, Steph Curry, just a complete all-around game, 30 minutes, 30 points, 11 of 15 shooting from the field, a perfect 8 of 8 from the 3-point line. The guy could not miss literally. Even when he was supposed to miss, he banked in a 3-point shot. 6 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 turnovers, and plus 32. That is a game high. And again, this just goes to show when Steph Curry is aggressive and at various segments of each quarter is looking to be aggressive, well, that just completely changes the dynamics of everything that is being talked about. Obviously, as we know, the biggest struggles for the Warriors have been on the offensive end of the floor. Their defense, even with the smaller lineups, outside of 2 atrocious games against the Mavs and the Grizzlies, have been holding up. And obviously, it would be holding up much better if they were going bigger. But tonight, they were also going up against a depleted and a broken 76ers team that was also going quite small outside of Joel Embiid. If you look at their lineup, Paul George is playing the power forward spot. The guy is 6'8". He's not really a power forward. You got Cody Martin, who's 6'5", at the small forward spot. And then you have a combination of Kyle Lowry and Tyrese Maxey in the backcourt. And that's actually a little bit smaller than what the Warriors are running. Straight stupid. But there's definitely some of that going on around the league. This disease of going small and coaches thinking that it's okay now because Steve Kerr has set that standard. But before I get into those things, Jonathan Kuminga off the bench once again. Another forceful game, 8 of 11 from the field, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, plus 25 for the night. I think this is probably his most consistent stretch ever as a player coming off the bench. We all know that Jonathan Kuminga is way more consistent as a starter than he is off the bench, but over the last 6 games or so, he has been really consistent, really efficient outside of the Cavs game, more active on the glass. And you know, if it weren't for the fact that Steve Kerr continues to force him to play the power forward spot, I would feel more comfortable with this level of production coming off the Warriors bench going into the playoffs if he simply wasn't being played out of position. And even though he's coming off the bench, he is getting starters minutes. Outside of tonight's game, obviously, which is a complete and utter blowout. Draymond also had an all-around dynamic game. It's about time, 15 points, 6 of 10 shooting from the field, poor shooting from the 3-point line, but 15 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 blocks is pretty damn good. And he was a plus 30 for the game. Yep, just one of those all-around games where just about everything that could go right for the Warriors went right. So it's one game that we don't really have to be stressed about anything. But at the end of the day, they went and did the exact same things that they normally do. Second quarter comes, the small units come in, the 3-guard lineups are back. And what I can tell you is that fundamentally, that is not a sustainable way for the Warriors to continue to do what they did tonight. Tonight was an aberration against a weak team having many problems of their own. The 76ers are 13-19 after all. Needless to say, a bigger test is coming up against the Grizzlies at home. I have very little confidence that the Warriors' ways is going to be good enough to beat that team even without Ja Morant. And it's a back-to-back situation, the Grizzlies on Saturday and the Kings on Sunday. I'm not trying to be a pessimist, I'm simply a realist. And I understand what fundamentally works long-term and what fundamentally does not work long-term. And what they did tonight, yes, it can work in the first quarters, but in the second quarters, they will lose all momentum if they do exactly what they did tonight against those Grizzlies, going with those small lineups once again. And Zach Edey's been out the last couple of games or so. Let's see if he's back. If he's back, actually, let me think about this for a second. The Grizzlies currently are missing Ja Morant, Santi Aldama, and Zach Edey. I don't know if Zach Edey will be back by Saturday. We'll see. But if he is back, and the Warriors are rolling out those small lineups again against that team and the players they have on that roster, good luck winning that game. I'm telling you, man, the Warriors have a winning group of players on this roster right now. Do they still need to make a move or two? Yes, they do. But if they bring the bigs back into the equation, once again, by the way, Buddy Hield was 1 of 5 from the field, the one guy who still can't hit the side of a barn. And Steve Kerr is really doing Kyle Anderson dirty, man. Kyle Anderson, when that guy plays 15 plus minutes for the Warriors have an 11-3 record. What are we talking about? That is not a guy that should be picking up a bunch of DNPs. He only played tonight because it was a blowout and he's a third string player right now. That is dirty work. Timing is everything. Trust the plan. Warriors haven't strung together a 2-game winning streak since late November. November 20th and November 22nd. That is the last time they won 2 straight games. Can they put it together against the Grizzlies? Again, if Steve Kerr does what he did tonight and what he's been doing for a very long time at this point, my money's not on the Warriors. It is what it is. A few other guys from tonight that deserve shout-outs. Andrew Wiggins has just been steady throughout the course of this season for the most part. I think he struggled to be a little more consistent throughout the course of an entire game as of late because, once again, these small lineups where he's forced to play power forward here and there, those things throw him off rhythm. He's not a big man. He is a powerful POA, probably the most powerful POA in the league when used correctly. And he hasn't been getting enough credit as of late. 15 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 6 of 11 from the field. Very efficient. His three-point shooting's fallen off a little bit as of late. 1 of 4 tonight. 40.7% on the season. It'll probably decrease a little bit after tonight. But man, if you can just continue to put him in a position to succeed rather than put him in a position to fail, and all of these guys would ultimately be having a glorious season. A lot of players would be up for a lot of awards and all that good stuff. And that just simply cannot happen when you are a 500 team. Shameful, really. But other than that, Lindy Waters had a good game off the bench. Moses Moody was 4 of 5 from the field. And all of them was from the 3-point line. Very efficient. And given that Moody and Lindy are now 2 primary players coming off their bench outside of Buddy Hield, that 3-guard combination that comes off the bench, obviously, if these guys can shoot the ball really well, that is a game changer. On most nights, it's not going to happen because, like I've been saying, the Warriors don't have enough screening when they go to these 3-guard lineups and Andrew Wiggins is at the 4, Kuminga is at the 4. Neither of them are really viable screeners. And then these guys that need to get open and get into open spaces to be able to get good looks are not getting those looks. And that's why they've been struggling from the field. They're not getting any easy looks inside the paint. And that's what all the struggles this season have been about. I actually relayed some of this stuff to a very important person in the Warriors organization. We'll see if anything comes of it. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. As always, stay tuned for a lot of elite content coming up this season. And if you like this content, of course, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, the like button. Your support fuels me to be the greatest version of myself and give you the greatest content you can find anywhere. Whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on social media, whether it's on television, it doesn't matter. I am here to give you the most elite Warriors content on the planet. So once again, thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. Until next time.